Hello, welcome to Lesson 4 of the Rudiments of Music from the Scratch series. Now let's talk about key signatures. So the key signature comes right after the clef symbol on the stave. It may either have some sharp or flat symbols placed on certain lines or spaces of the staff. As you can see here, we have three sharps here. This is the key of A major. Alright, this is the key of B flat. Can you see these two flat symbols here tells us that this key is B flat. These three sharp symbols here tells us that the key is A major. Now how do you know maybe it is A major or it is B or it is C or it is F? Usually if there are no sharps or flats listed after the clef symbol, as is the case of this first measure, then the key signature means all notes are natural, and that is the key of C natural, telling you that no line is raised by a sharp or lowered by a flat. So that's the key C natural. You often find any piece written in C natural, you only find the clef symbol and the time signature. This is time signature. We're going to talk about time signature in the next video. But when there are no sharps or flats listed after the clef symbol, then the key is C natural. Alright. Now how do we derive key signatures? The secret is constructing the diatonic scale for every single key. You see that? The idea of key signature is derived from the construction of the diatonic scale for all the individual keys. We have 12 unique keys and we can build the diatonic scales for each of these 12 keys. So when we say a scale is an alphabetical succession of notes. For example, the scale of C natural is written below. This is the scale of key C natural. This is C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. This is the first degree of the scale, the second degree, the third degree, the fourth degree, fifth, sixth, seventh, and the eighth degree. Notice that the eighth degree is the same thing as the first degree. It's just that it's an octave higher than the starting point. Some of you are familiar with this tonic solfa notation. We're starting with the tonic, we are also ending with the tonic. Well, this apostrophe sign here is telling you that this tonic is now an octave tonic. So this is a simple diatonic scale. So in the case of C natural, notice that we did not have to place a sharp or flat on any of the notes, hence the name key C natural. So it's helpful to also understand the concept of intervals. Intervals simply refer to the distance between two notes on the scale. So if I'm considering the distance from this C to D, that's a kind of interval. If I'm to consider the distance between C and F, that's another kind of interval. Alright, but the shortest interval in music, or the shortest movement, is a half step, and that's also denoted by a semitone. So if you see this symbol ST, that means a semitone. If you see this symbol, this capital letter T, that tells you that's a tone or a whole step. So between C and D is a whole step. So we also indicate that by a tone. Between D and E is a whole step, a tone. Between E and F is an half step or a semitone. F and G, we have a tone interval between that. G and A, we also have a tone interval, that's a whole step. A and B, a whole step. Then B and C, we have an half step interval. So in all, we have 7 intervals within the diatonic scale. Okay, so these are the scale degrees. This is the first degree, the second degree, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth degree of the scale. So this is just a simple construction of the C natural scale. So there's a particular arrangement of tones, that is whole steps and then semitones, half steps, in the scale degrees as shown below. So you observe that between the first and second degree we have a tone, that's a whole step. Between the second and third degree of the scale we have another whole step or a tone. Between the third and fourth degree will always be an half step, that's a semitone. So if you are constructing a diatonic scale for any key, the third interval, that is between the third and fourth degree of the scale, that interval is usually an half step. The same thing applies to the last interval, that is between the 7th and the 8th degree. You always have an half step or a semitone. So you have tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. Some people can say whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, half step. So this is the principle by which we derive the key signatures for any key we're interested in. So I've just brought out the key signatures of all the sharp keys. All these keys are indicated with sharp symbols. So it's starting with G. All right. If we go through the circle of fifth, the first member is the C natural. The C natural has no key signature. It's just natural, as we have seen here. So now, if we proceed further, we would have G, and G is indicated by 1 sharp. Notice that sharp is placed on the F line. Can you see this? If you remember, every good boy does fine. Can you see the fifth line of the treble stave is line F? So that sharp symbol for the key of G is usually placed on the line F. So on the bass stave, it's placed on the fourth line, which is the line F. Look at the key of D major, we have 2 sharps. The key of A major, we have 3 sharps. The key of E major, we have 4 sharps. The key of B major, we have 5 sharps. F sharp, we have 6 sharps. And then the key of C sharp has got 7 sharps. So if you are familiar with this, once you see a piece of music, you can tell, oh, there are 3 sharps here. That should be A major. So this is another way to identify the key of a piece of music. Now, for illustration, we have decided to construct the scale of G major. Now, the first thing to do is to write out the members of the scale, or the elements. We have G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. If you are constructing a diatonic scale, for example, we are taking G, you start with G, list all the other elements. After G comes A, then B, C, D, E, F, G again. Now let's consider the intervals from the beginning. Between G and A, we have a whole step, which is what we want. A and B, we have a whole step. Between B and C, we have an half step, which is also what we want, because remember the rule, it is tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. For any diatonic scale, that interval rule applies. So for G, between G and A, we have what we want. A and B, we have what we want. Between B and C, we have exactly what we need. Between C and D, we have what we want. That's a whole step, whole step. E and F is supposed to be a whole step. That's a tone. But as you can see, there's no black key in between this. So the only movement we have here is an half step. That's a semitone. So in order to account for the remaining half step, we have to move to F sharp. So that is why you can see this arrow pointing to F sharp, telling you that we move from E to F sharp so that we can have a whole step between that. So that finally from F sharp to G will give us the semitone, the final half step. That is why for the key of G major, we have 1 sharp, and the note sharpened is F sharp. So you can see that is why the sharp is usually placed on the F line of the G major scale. So if you do the same thing for D major, A major, E, B, F sharp, and C sharp, you will discover that once you follow that interval rules of whole steps and half step, just the way I've shown you here, you will discover that all these other keys derive their sharp symbols and flat symbols, as the case may be, from the construction of their diatonic scales. All right, let's go to the flat key signatures. As you can see, the first member here is F major, indicated with 1 flat. Notice that the line that bears the flat is the line B. This is the B line. All right. In the case of B flat, if you notice, there's a pattern. The note flattened there is B. That's the first note flattened in the case of B flat again, but now with an addition of a second flat. Now this second flat is placed on the space E. All right. So there's a progression and a pattern. If you notice, look at E flat now. We have a flat on line B, space E, and then another flat on the space A. Can you see that? So there's a progression. After F comes B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, and G flat. These are the members of the flat series. All right. So let's look at the construction of the F major scale. Now, again, we list the members of the scale: F, G, A, B, C, D, E, and F. Now, In order to balance the interval rule, we have that from F to G is a tone, that's a whole step. From G to A, another whole step. Now from A to B, what we need is an half step, a semitone. So instead of going from A to B, which is naturally a whole step, we move from A to B flat. That is why you see this arrow pointing backwards, that we don't jump from A to B because we want to get an half step, we move to B flat. Can you see that? So from A to B flat is a semitone. So the flat was placed on B to tell you that we lowered this movement by a flat. So that is why the key of F major has one flat, and that note or the line that bears the flat is the B line. And when you have two flats, then that will be B flat. If you have three flats, that will be key E flat. If you have four flats, the key is A flat. If you have five flats, that is D flat. If you have six flats, that is G flat. Now it will be quite important to also note that the key of D flat is the same key as C sharp, only that in the flat series we denote the same key as D flat. The same thing applies to G flat. The key of G flat is still the same key as F sharp. I think I talked about this in one of my previous lessons, that it is termed enharmonic equivalence. The same key or the same note bears two names. Alright, so that brings us to the end of lesson 4. In lesson 5, we'll be talking about time signature. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I'll see you in lesson 5.